Welcome to the sew along for the Hallie Bikini, an intermediate swim sewing project from Madeline's new book, Sew Lingerie. It's an intermediate project because it's a little bit more advanced than the Henrietta, but still pretty simple, and I'm going to break down all the steps for you. Now, before we get into sewing, let's make sure that you have all your fabrics and supplies. All pieces except for the center front portion of the bikini top are one layer of Lycra lined with one layer of stretch mesh. I spray basted these layers together and will treat them as one throughout the rest of the project to show you the back bikini bottom, and then the front bikini bottom, the same thing. One layer of Lycra lined with one layer of mesh. Now for the centerpiece on the bikini top, it is optional how you want to line this. So you can line it with a stretch mesh and then have a separate layer of the sheer cup lining or a non-stretch lining and use that to finish the V-wire. Or you can just leave this just one layer of Lycra, and then this layer of sheer cup lining or non-stretch lining will serve as your lining for the front piece. But you can have both. So you could do, so for the center front piece on the bikini top, you can do one layer of stretch mesh and a non-stretch, or you can just eliminate the stretch mesh and just use the non-stretch as your lining. Up to you. As far as trims go, you should have your V underwire. And I wanted to make a note about the V underwire. It was drafted to fit the shape of the V opening on the bikini top, but let's just say you can't get a hold of these V wires, you live somewhere else and can't get shipping and found like a different quality. That is okay. You just want to change the shape of your V wire or your V opening to match the same shape and length of your V-wire. Now there's some space at the top because I will have fold over elastic that's sewn there, so that is why I have it sitting below the top edge. So don't panic if you have a V-wire that is not the shape of the V-wire that's on the Hallie Bikini. You just want to adjust it so that it is the same shape. Super easy pattern alteration. Then you have your fold over elastic, your underwire chaining, which is only used to finish the V opening, as well as your wide band elastic that's used at the bottom of the bikini top and the waistline on the bikini bottom. The first step in making the Hallie is sewing the V opening. So I went ahead and did this step because I think it's easier to see the after rather than trying to explain it before. But I put the sheer cup lining or my non-stretch lining facing the right side of the Lycra. I sewed a straight stitch down the V opening and then all the way back again. When I got close to that V opening or the bottom of the V opening, I shortened my stitches just to add a little bit more oomph to the stitch and for stability. Also, sewing this V perfectly straight is really difficult. So if you don't get it straight the first time, just go right back over it. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I actually went over 2 times because I wasn't really happy with the shape of my V opening, and I want it to be really nice and sharp. So once you've done this, you will clip down that center. And I like to put my thumb right at the edge of or at the bottom of the V opening so I don't clip through it. And you want to clip it through the fabric, but not through the stitching, right to that point. Now, as you can see here, like I'm gonna flip it to the wrong side. And when I do, it looks really wonky, right? You're like, how does that, like this looks terrible. Once you do an edge stitch, and then press it, I promise you that it will look so much better. So flip it to flip the non-stretch lining to the wrong side. You are gonna do an edge stitch, and you're gonna stitch as close to that V opening as possible, and then give it a nice press to press it in place. show the edge stitching and press it, and I gave it a really good press, and as you can see, I was just using my fingers to spread this open so that it would lay flat. The next step is to insert the V-wire into the channeling. And you want there to be about 1/2 inch from the edge of the V-wire and the edge of the channeling. And then I'm going to cut the other side. And then I'm going to place this in between the non-stretch lining and the main fabric and the regular lining. And I'm just going to push it up and then fold this back. You might have to maneuver it and just work the fabric so that it lies flat. So I have the underwire channeling with the V-wire between the non-stretch lining and the main fabric and the Lycra. Then you are gonna stitch as close to that edge of the channeling. You don't want to hit the V-wire, so you want to get really close. And if it makes sense, you can walk your hand, crank it, the sewing machine as you're sewing it. You can also just tack it at the top here and there. So if you want it to be a little bit more secure, you can sew along the underwire channeling down on the left side and the right side, or you can just tack it at the top if you want like a really nice and clean finish with no visible stitching on the outside. I sewed a top stitch to secure the channeling and the V-wire down. Even though the book tells you just to tack it at the top and the bottom, I like to give you options just in case you want a little bit more security. Now because I just cut out a swatch of the lining fabric, and because I sewed a top stitch there, I'm going to cut the lining away, the non-stretch lining, super close to that stitching. This is a variation from what the book says, but I like this option and I do want to show it to you. And as you can see, I didn't top stitch all the way down around the V portion. I just did on either side. Now that the V-wire is sewn in, the next step is to assemble the bikini top as well as the bikini bottom. So you will pin center front to side front along the princess seam and then front to back along the side seam. You can use a straight stitch, back stitch at the beginning and the end, and 1/4 inch seam allowance. You will do the same thing to the bikini bottom. Once I finish pinning, I will show you. And don't forget to sew it together at the shoulder seam. So for the bikini bottom, you will sew it together at the side seam as well as the crotch seam. Bikini top and bikini bottom have been assembled. The next step is to sew the fold over elastic. In this step, you are sewing fold over elastic along the neckline, along the armholes, and along the leg openings. You are not sewing it to the bottom of the bikini top or the top of the bikini bottom. That's a tongue twister. So let's go over some basics about fold over elastic. The photo elastic that we use and we carry at Madeline can be used for both lingerie as well as swimwear. I can't say that for all qualities, but if you got a DIY kit from Madeline, the photo elastic can be used for both bras, panties, as well as swimwear. It's called photo elastic because it has an indentation down the center and it folds over. The photo elastic that we carry has one shiny side and one matte side. Some qualities are matte on both sides. Some other qualities are shiny on both sides. So it just depends. We also carry 3/8 of an inch, which is the most common size, 3/8 of an inch when it's folded. It also comes in 3/8 of an inch wide, and different widths. I like the 3/8 of an inch wide, especially when you're going around curves. If you are full busted, the 3/4 of an inch is very nice and proportionate to a plus size body. So when you are sewing photo elastic, you can do it in one pass. I prefer to do it in 2 passes. And by pass, I mean steps. So it usually takes 2 steps. If you are very familiar with sewing photo elastic, you can certainly do it in 1 step. The shiny side should be facing the exterior of the garment when it is finished. For the armholes and the leg openings, when you get to the end, you will overlap your fold over elastic about 1/2 of an inch. That's how you will finish it off. Like that. At the center front, where the V opening is, you are going to wrap it around. Some sewers might want to have a little seam there and then at the center front and then do a really nice clean finish. I find that it gets really bulky when you do that, and I find it's a lot easier as well, not as bulky if you just wrap it around. I'm gonna go do it under the machine, show you all the stitches, and I will show you what it should look like after. The last step in sewing the Hallie bikini is attaching the bottom band elastic. I'm also showing you a variation of a waistband that you can apply to the bikini bottom or the bikini top. It is part of our June collection, really sweet. So at the top of this video, there should be a link for the tutorial on how to do this type of waistbands. But for the way that you finish it per the instructions in the book is you will sew the short ends of your elastic bands together, and then you are going to overlap. I'm jumping ahead, but you're going to overlap your elastic bands and the bottom of the bikini top about 1/4 of an inch, and then you are going to sew through all layers using a zigzag stitch. Now it's important that your zigzag stitch goes on or is really close to the edge of the elastic. Millie bikini is finished. I hope you enjoyed this sew along, and as always, any questions, pop them in the comments below or send an email to hello@madeline.com.